Hi there, it's Chef P, and today we're going to start the process of making prosciutto. So it is January here in Ontario, and just after Christmas, usually all kinds of pork goes on sale, and that's usually because most Italians, Portuguese are making sausage and all kinds of other cured meats. So today we're going to spend some time on prosciutto. So we're going to start off. You'll basically need a leg of pork like this. And you're also going to need a fair amount of salt. Okay, so table salt is a good choice, and some good sharp knives to work on that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take that out of the bag, sort of clean up any of the liquids that are on there. Then I'll show you how to trim that up, get it ready to be salted. And basically we're going to salt it for about 2 weeks. We're going to put some pressure on there, and we're going to try to squeeze out any of that liquid that's going there to start the curing process. And after those 2 weeks, what we'll do is we'll rub it with some pepper and some hot peppers as well, and we're going to be hanging that for the next 10 months. After that 10 months is done, we'll be soaking that for a day, and then after that, we'll be ready to dig into some nice, cured, safe to eat prosciutto. Okay, so let me clean this up and I'll show you how to do this. Okay, so I've got it out of the bag now. And I'm always careful with the bag itself, because the bag, sort of protects this stuff, but it could be very, very dirty. So I don't like to put it right on my board. So I've taken it out of the bag, and I actually saved this bag because it's a nice barrier for when I want to put some weight on top of it. So I'll take this bag, I'll put it on top when I'm at the salting process and the squishing stage, that first 2 weeks, and I'll put some weight on that, and that'll just give me a barrier so that if anything there is not going to contaminate it in any way. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take some paper towel. I'm just going to start to sort of pick up any excess little bits of juices and things like that, just so it's a little bit easier to work on. Okay, so I'll flip that over, and what we've got here is a hind quarter. Okay, so it's the ham, it's the actual ham, and this is a ham because it is a cured piece off the back leg. And so once I get that all cleaned up, and that's it. And I'm going to feel around, just make sure there's no dirt. You know, sometimes when they slaughter and they take care of these things, it's not always the most clean thing in the world. I mean, we're cutting an animal open and taking out its guts, and we're hosing it down, hopefully getting most of the stuff off. They also burn off all the hair. Okay, so you'll notice there's no hair on this skin, and typically a pig would have a lot of hair, so that's been burned off. Okay, so anyway, just let me, I'm just going to pause here, and then I'll reorganize so that we can see better, and then we'll start the cutting process. Okay, so the real key to all this is basically we want to take this leg, so again, that's what the leg looks like up here, and we're going to be taking off all the skin up and around here. And you also want to sort of keep your eyes open for small little lymph nodes maybe. So near the skin, sometimes you'll see this little sort of grayish little ball or whatever. I like to get those out. Some people don't mind leaving it in there, but I typically take those out. I know that in deer, it will typically, give you some foul flavors there, and it's just not really a good thing to eat. So I like to cut them off as well. So what we will do here is we'll start from this side, and we're just sort of just gonna draw here, this way. So I'm just going to cut slightly into the skin, like that. I'm just sort of tracing it around and coming up to this point here. Then what I want to do is I want to try to get as close as I can to the skin, and I'm going to use that. It's very difficult to do at this angle so that you can see, but and I'm just going to sort of almost like you would a fish. You're sort of going toward the skin. I'm not cutting through the skin, but I'm just sort of taking it up to here. So I'll continue that drawing process. I'm just going to draw it. I don't want to go too deep, just so I can score that skin. Same thing over here. If I can get it all off in one fell swoop, that would be great. Not always possible, but we can try. And that's it. I just keep pulling. And really, I'm just letting the knife do its work. Just putting a little bit of pressure. If you go through the skin, don't worry too much about it. Okay, and I might just take this off here just so I can flip it around so you can see. All right, like that. Then we'll do the basic same thing right from the other side here. Okay, so just sort of cut from here. And again, I'm going to try to get a little bit of a hold on top of this, and I'm just kind of using the tip of the knife. It's very important to have a sharp boning knife to do this. I wouldn't do this with a chef's knife or big butcher's knife or anything like that. Just use a nice little chef's knife, or boning knife to do that. Okay, the fat is an important part of prosciutto, so I'm going to keep this on. I have a couple more legs downstairs because I'm also going to be making sausage. So any little bits that I'm going to have here, I'll save those and I'll put them into my, I'll put those into my sausage meat as well. But if you're not doing that, then obviously you could just keep those, grind them up, either make a little bit of sausage, or you could use it for anything else. And that's it. I'm just going to keep going here. And the other thing that's really great about this skin, and you'll see that traditional Italians will keep this skin and they'll roll it up and tie it with butcher's twine, and they'll use it to flavor a sauce. So they'll make a little bit of a bundle, and they'll roll up that skin, they'll tie it, and then they'll throw it into a sauce, and it can cook all day, and it just provides some really, really, really nice flavor to the sauce. And so that's another thing you can do with that. If you wanted to too, I guess you could make some chicharrone, or you could make some pork rinds, for lack of a better word. Okay, so what we have here now at this point is I've got sort of this cut here. Whoops, I just missed a little bit here. That's it. And take that off, and I've got that going all the way around here. Okay, so it sort of exposes this whole top side here. This extra fat here, so this is a lot. I might just take some of this off and I'll put it into my sausage. You want to leave a little bit of fat, but not a ton. What you may notice as well, and we've got a perfect example here. So when they took this off, they cut a little bit of the bone here. So it's not hard, but I want to get some of that off, and any other little pieces of, connective tissue or anything like that that might be on the surface there, I want to take that off as well. There we go. And then the main concentration here, of course, is we've got this ball joint here. And around that ball joint, there's a bone here from the hip. Okay, so we're going to want to take that piece out, and we just want to expose just the ball of that joint. Okay, so sort of just spotting the other little pieces that I want to take off. There we go. You know what? I might take this little piece off too. It's really, when we're dealing with this, is we're trying to get rid of crevices. So we're trying to get a nice round sort of surface for that. So that's actually meat. I'll hang on to that. There's a little bit of more of that bone connective tissue there. I'll put that aside. Okay, and then I'll work around this bone. So you'll see that in here, it's just kind of, it's got like a little bit of a scoop in it. Like that. Okay, this is your hip bone. It's very, very similar to what you have in your own body. There we go. And I'm just, again, I'm pulling on the meat, and I'm just letting the knife do its work. I'm just sort of running the knife across here. And I'm going to take that chunk off. And again, that's going to become part of my sausage meat. And same thing on this side here. Just going to work on the opposite side of this bone. And you'll see it sort of runs through here and then scoops around here. So I'm just going to keep going here like that. Like that. And keep going there. Try not to waste too much meat because, it's better for that prosciutto to have that. This is going to drop. We're going to have about 65% of the meat that we started with by the time we finish the drying process. So any meat that's there, we want to sort of try to keep there. And I'm actually exposing here the actual ball joint here. So I can actually see it. You can actually see it sort of move back and forth. So I'm just going to continue to free that up. Like that. And There we go. And again, I'm trying not to dig into all the other meat too much because, again, I don't want to have too many crevices because all those crevices have to be filled with salt. And it's better if I have a nice sort of rounded area that I can work with when I'm salting it. There we go. And it's slowly starting to move. And I just sort of follow along with my fingers and see where those pieces end up. There we go. It's a bit of a process, but not too bad. Comes out a little bit more. I think I'm going to try to free it from this side here. So I've got that ball joint right there. And I'm just exposing that. So that sort of comes down here like this. And hopefully you can kind of still see it a little bit. And again, I'm just moving around anything that's there that doesn't need to be there. I'm starting to cut it off. And it's starting to free up from the ball now, which is great. And you'll see there's actually a thumb hole through this part here. You'll probably recognize that off, even a human skeleton is very similar. Being very careful, of course, to not go toward yourself. Okay, so I'm always trying to work the knife away from my hands, just for safety. And we're very close here. Sorry, I'm going to have to do this from another direction here, just for safety. And I can hear it coming apart, which is great. And I think we're almost free here. There it is. Okay, so I'll just bring that back to you. So this was in here like this. So now it's just sort of still tied up to the ball joint. So I'm just going to release that, and there we go. Okay, so that bone could be used for stock or something like that. I may clean this off a little bit better too and put that into my sausage meat. And what I'm going to do over here is so I've actually got some crevice here, which don't really want. I'm just going to round this off a little bit. Okay, so this here, I'm actually going to continue this line, and I'm just going to bring it down to here. Okay, so you get under here. Again, it's hard to do it from this angle so that you can see. That's it. And then I'm actually going to take a lot more off this part here. And a lot of that can go into my sausage, minus the skin, of course, for my sausage. The skin has other purposes as well. So there we go. Take some of that off. And we are in pretty good shape. I'm just going to make sure that there's no more bone or anything in here. And we're in pretty good shape. All right, so I'm just going to round some of that off. I'm going to take it back to this side, and I'm just going to circle this around. There we go. Kind of for aesthetics, and that's okay. And there we go. And then I'm just going to round some of that off and take it for my sausage. Just so it's a little bit rounder, a little bit nicer. And just going to... And this will be very important to fill all these little crevices with salt. And so we'll do that as part 2 of this video. So I think we will stop right about there, except one last thing that I forgot. Okay, so this is going to have to hang. Okay, so best way to do that, you'll see that there's actually two bones here. This one's not quite attached, but it's strong enough to hold this thing through. So we're actually going to cut an incision right through here. And I'm going to try to do that as close to the bone as I can. So I'm going to poke with my knife here, okay? And I'm going to make a good incision here. And this incision we're going to use to sort of run a rope through it for when we want to actually hang it. Okay, so that's what we're going to do with that. And I think we're in pretty good shape. I'm actually going to take just a little bit more off this. Again, just to round that off. Now, do you have to do that? No, you don't have to do that. But I'm making sausage anyway, so it's not going to hurt for me to take that off. Okay, so I think we will stop it there. It's always good to have a little sink with some water in it so that you can wash your hands, especially when you're filming. So that's basically it. So we'll see you for part 2. We're going to salt this and we're going to start the process of squishing this and taking care of it. Hope that was helpful, and we'll see you on the next one.